Hey, it's Bob out here at Sorrento Hill. Whew. Here it is, May 23rd, and I'm out here wearing a flannel shirt buttoned all the way up and feeling a little bit chilly. It's kind of crazy out here. Uh, but at any rate, thought I'd share with you what I'm working on this week and what I'm starting on today. First thing is I got to get some more sawdust soaking. Um, one of my projects this week is going to be um, I picked up this set of stairs the other day. Um, I, I bought them from a guy for $100. They're a little bit longer than I actually need for my front door, but it would have cost me over twice that to buy the materials, the 2x12s, to make these steps. So I figured, I thought, that's a pretty good deal. So I'll be getting those um, mounted up, so I have steps going up to my front door. Where is it? Right there. Steps to my front door instead of having to go all the way around the house. Um, and that'll be convenient. Um, I'd been trying to find a mortar tub for several days. Well, actually, a couple of weeks. My mortar tub is cracked and about to break, so I ended up having to get this tote here. Hope that'll be heavy enough. It's actually, I think, a little heavier plastic than the mortar tub. And every once in a while you get those flashes of inspiration, right? I guess it's inspiration. But what I've been doing, as you can see where I mix here, there's my mortar tub, and I'd mix my mortar, and I have my tub sitting on the ground, and then I got to pick it up from the ground, after it dumps in. And I got thinking, I've got this stand here. It's laying on its side, but that's what I used for when we were using the solar shower. That's what I put my little black trash can, 30-gallon trash can in and filled with water, and then with it being black, let the sun heat that up. And I don't know, for some reason it just hit me today. Instead of having that thing down on the ground, I've got this stand and I'm not going to be reusing it. I'll bust it apart for the wood. And I thought, I could just cut the legs off short and set my mortar tub on top of that, especially since I've got one that'll fit on there now real nicely. And then I'm not lifting all the way up from the ground. One of those flashes. I also bought a bucket, a smaller bucket. This is what I've been doing when I do my mortar, and it's resulted in some uneven mortar joints I wasn't real crazy about. And you know how sometimes when you're thinking about something on your own, you can miss the obvious. And I'm a member of a Facebook group called Cordwood Construction. It's run by a guy named Richard Flatow, who is one of the top experts in the country, if not the world, on cordwood. And I commented about that, about how I've got some of my joints here that I'm not real happy with, because I was on the backside and then over here, so I was working kind of blind. And you do a couple levels, and then you get up here and you realize that some of my mortar spacing isn't what I would like for it to be. Like, for instance, let me change position here. This one right here, okay, that's narrower than I would like. And that's a little wider than I would like. And then this big area in here, it's bigger than I really would like. And when you're on one side working on the other and you can't really see, that's how that kind of thing happens. And he said something that just, it was like, okay, that's so obvious, I can't believe that I didn't see it. But he says that when he's working alone, what he does is he puts some in a tub, splits his batch up and puts some on the outside and some on the inside, and that way he can work from both sides. Another person said, well, how about a mirror? Well, I could use a mirror, I guess, figure out how to mount it, but I kind of like the idea of being able of splitting my batch up. Um, so I bought me another little bucket that I can put some mix in and put on the outside. One of the problems is I'm working on a scaffold, an impromptu, a makeshift scaffold. It's a 2x10 board, rather 2x12 board. It's between two ladders, um, and it works pretty well. But then you got to bend down. Um, you got to bend down to pick it up, and that's not real steady up there. And I thought, well, I've got some short pieces of board and some metal and clamps and the like. I could just make one that would fasten to, put across two rungs of the ladder and just make myself a shelf to put my mortar on. Then I'm not having to bend over for it. So, those things that, it seems so obvious that you think, why didn't I think of that before? But sometimes that's why sometimes it's good to have videos like this to watch, and Facebook groups to watch, and other people that are doing what you're doing, so you can talk to them and say, hey, what are you doing about this? Because sometimes we miss the obvious. So that's kind of the things I'm going to be doing. Oh, sorry about that. That's the things I'm going to be doing to get the week started off with. Now I'm down to this point. I'm almost up to my window. I found another log that was really, really pretty, and I decided to put it horizontally instead of vertically. So to cap off this vertical log, and with it being wider at one side, it kind of made up for the fact that this log isn't straight at the top. So just a little artistic thing, and then I rounded the ends of it off. And that was one of the funny things. Friday, I guess it's funny now. I'm going to sit down while I talk to you for a second. But Friday, I had this great plan Friday. I was going to go out to the woods, and I was going to cut some more cedar trees down. Well, I got up Friday morning, and the Weather Channel says lake wind advisory. Wonderful. And I look at the Weather Channel, and winds are 15 to 25 miles an hour with 35-mile-an-hour gusts. And I look at and I could hear stuff every once in a while dropping down on top of the RV because we got trees around it. And I look outside, and boy, the trees they're just dancing around like that. Well, you may want to cut down trees when it's like that. I don't cut trees when they're dancing around like that. It's just not a good idea. So I thought, well, there goes plan A. Well, plan B, I'll fire up the pressure washer and let Deb, if she was off work, let her strip some logs, and I'll get started on cordwood. Well, my pressure washer, I've been using it a lot. I bought it a little over a year ago and been using it a lot. And last couple times I used it, it was real hard. Pardon me, I got a crick in my neck. It was real hard to get started from cold. Now, once it was warmed up and ran for a while, it'd start on about the second pull. And it's a Honda motor, and it normally, from cold, I turn open the fuel valve up, pull the choke, set the on-off, the kill switch to on, give it a couple pulls, and she just fires right up. Push the choke in, let it idle for a second. I'm ready to go. And then from there, once it runs out of fuel or I have to stop for a few minutes, and man, it's one pull and it starts. And I swear this thing must have taken 50 or 60 pulls to get started last time. And I thought, well, it's been used a lot, so I went and bought a air filter and a plug, and that didn't help any. And the plug wasn't fouled; it looked pretty good. The gap was good, so I thought, wow. So I did some Googling and came up with some stuff, and so I removed the jet and the little Venturi tube from a carb. They look pretty good, but I cleaned those out, put it back together. It still didn't want to start. every once in a while it'd pop or backfire a little. So I ended up taking that to the small engine shop. So there went Plan B. And then Plan C was I was going to go ahead and get started cordwood. Well, the first thing I wanted to do was that log that I showed you, that little smaller one that I put horizontal. Instead of leaving the ends squared off, I thought, well, I'll make it look a little neater and nicer. I'll round the ends off. So I took the log and I used my sawzall to kind of cut the ends off. But I wanted to smooth it off, so I went to fire up my belt sander. Well, it started and then it stopped, and ended up being that my power strip fried. So that was just one frustration after another. Just so aggravated. But it goes like that some days. And so, I figured that out and got my log done, did a batch, and I was going to do some more. And looking at the time, and I told Deb, I said, Saturday and Sunday it's going to be rainy. Next week it's going to be cold. I said, let's get showers. We're going for a bike ride. I need some wind therapy. Because one of the things that can be kind of crazy sometimes is things can be kind of crazy, but you get on the bike and it's like the wind blows all the frustration and the aggravation away from you. So we went for a bike ride. I'll pop a video on here of I indulged myself a little bit, and I bought some slip-on mufflers for my motorcycle. And the only homestead related that this has to anything is the fact that the motorcycle is parked in a garage out here at the homestead, and I like to ride the motorcycle. But the stock exhaust is just way too quiet. It just doesn't sound like a Harley with the stock exhaust that they're putting on these newer bikes. So I bought a set of slip-on mufflers that bumps the sound level up, and it sounds pretty good. And so we took Deb out for a ride Friday and asked her what she thought, and she likes the way it sounds. So maybe you'll like it too. All right, well, that's enough for right now. Um, I'm going to get to work on the things I've got to do. I'll get those things done, the making the stand to put my mortar tub on, so I'm not having to bend all the way down to the ground. My little shelf for my scaffold, get some more mortar, some more sawdust soaking. I'll have time for about 2 batches of mortar, and then I got to get cleaned up because at 6 o'clock tonight, I've got a great grandson and a step great grandson that are graduating from kindergarten. So I got to go. I'm going to their graduation. So that's kind of a cool thing. Um, so being able to go and do things like that, it's great watching the little ones grow up. All right. For those that are squeamish or think you should relocate or whatever, this is why you've always got to be careful when you're out here. I may be at a home site, you think it's a home site and everything's good, but had this little critter and he's still trying to kick a little bit. This is probably about 1.5 to 2 foot long copperhead, and he was right over near where I was getting ready to work, and I happened to notice I've got a habit of kind of kicking stuff or pushing stuff before I grab hold of it for this express purpose. That way, if there's some critter in there, it can get out of the way before I grab hold of it. But that sucker if I hadn't flushed him out, he would have bit me. And, or she, I don't know if it's male or female. But we've had a real problem here in the past couple of years with baby copperheads, and haven't seen any this size yet, but just seen the smaller ones, about 8-10 inches long, that the dogs have gotten hold of up near the RV. And maybe if I can get rid of one or two like this, I won't have an issue with them. Now, I would normally just leave this thing alone and let it be, but it's right up here by the home site, and it's right up here where the dogs are, and I just can't be having poisonous snakes, venomous snakes rather, right up near the house where I'll be working. So my tool of choice for dealing with these is, believe it or not, is a lightweight T-post. The ground's kind of soft, so it didn't work as well, but you can take that and put it down on the thing's head. You can see it's still trying to move a little bit. It's just reflex, it's dead. But at any rate, that lightweight T-post, it gets me away from it so that I'm not at risk, but it lets me take the head off. So ground is a little soft, it didn't work that well. So when you're out there working in a homestead, just because you're up near the home or you're you know, up near your house, don't go taking for granted that you can just move stuff around and grab it. There's critters out here, and you need to be on the watch for them. We are in their neighborhood, and so we've got to be on the watch for them. Again, if this were a non-venomous snake, or if I ran across this copperhead, you know, 300-400 feet out away from the house, I'd leave it alone. But it's entirely different when it's right up there by your work site where you're working. It's as you can see, I finished up underneath the window, got it closed in. That's kind of a fiddly thing to do because you got to stuff it full of insulation, and you know where those 3 round logs are is where I put is on the back side of where I've got that horizontal log, so I had to cut one into thirds and put those, and that's a little fiddly, but at any rate, I got it closed in underneath there. And I walk over here and I'll show you what else I've got. Oh, I guess I better go back. I need to write cue cards for myself because I forgot something here. Because I built me a shelf to go on my ladder, and the way I'm holding it on is more scraps and some 4-inch screws. I just got a couple scrap pieces clamped to the bottom to hold it on to make it so it can't flip off. And I put me a little 3-gallon bucket of mortar up there, and it worked out great. It sure beat having to bend down and get it from down at feet level. I don't know why I didn't think of that sooner, but you know, that's how it goes. And then right here is my little stand that I modified. Put my mortar tub on it, and that gets it about a foot off the ground. It's actually easier to handle that way instead of having to bend all the way down and pick it up. This isn't a mortar tub. They've been out of them for weeks. This is actually a heavy-duty storage tote, but it has handles on it that make it actually easier to carry. And with me taking about a little over half or about half of it out to put in the bucket, it makes it a lot lighter to set up here so that I can then carry it to where I'm working. So got that done. And of course, my famous snake killing. I don't normally kill snakes, but when I've got a copperhead that's, probably that copperhead was less than 10 feet, probably somewhere between 5 and 10 feet from the door to the laundry shed. And Deb goes in there all the time wearing flip-flops. That wouldn't have been good. And right over here where I'm working, again, that's, you know, I discovered that when I was moving the stand for the shower so that I could work on it. Now I've got a habit, if I'm picking up something that's on the ground, I'll poke at it, kick at it, kind of use a stick or a post or something like that to move it some, so that if there's anything under it, it gets fair warning and it can get out of the way. Because if you just bend down there and grab that, you know, if I just gone down there and grabbed that, my hand would have been probably a foot or less from where that copperhead was sitting, and that sucker might have just wheeled around and bit me. I don't know. But by kicking it and moving it, and it stirred the thing up, it started trying to get out of the way, I was able to see that it was there. But it would have been pretty close to where I would have put my hand down to grab it if I hadn't done that. So let that be something that you practice all the time. All right, well, I'm going to go in here and tuck point the mortar that I just did, and go get me a shower, and then right off into the, I guess not really a sunset, but right off to town to watch my great-grandsons graduate from kindergarten. Yeah, well, it makes you feel old. We got great grandkids starting to graduate, going to school and graduating kindergarten and all that, but that's going to be kind of a cool thing. All right, this is Bob out here at Serenity Hill. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the little update, and we'll just be out here working all week doing what I can, trying to get this wall finished and waiting for my pressure washer to get repaired, and so I can strip some more logs. All right, we'll talk to you later. Have a good one, and don't be afraid to try something that you've never ever done before.